So for our first episode, I knew immediately who I wanted to have as a guest. This person is the perfect example of the impacts and adaptations theme and has started more businesses than you can imagine. From basement and garage cleanouts to 2 gyms, a PR media group, and even some bounty hunting. Join me as we explore the thought processes and experiences of a born entrepreneur with the founder of Sky Fitness 24/7, Will Renke. When I thought about doing the podcast, you were the first person that I thought of to have as a guest for several different reasons. Obviously being the founder of Sky Fitness, but also I just think that you're a good reflection of what I'm aiming for in terms of the overarching theme of the podcast, and that being impacts and adaptations, right? So everybody has, impactful events that have happened to them in their life, and like, how did they deal with those? What were what did they do with it? How did they, make it either productive, or how did it, shape their life? And just knowing the little bit that I do, of you, I think you're a great example of that, just from what you've done in the past and what you do now, right? So, I think this is a good start for what we're doing here. That, and I know that you have to give the gab, so you won't actually let me down.
That I do, and I'm very honored to be the first on the podcast. It's always fun to pop that podcast cherry, so it feels good.
Oh, don't say that.
I mean, come on, that's such a quintessential statement.
I know, but our relationship, I have this whole big sister thing that I've always felt with you.
Enough.
So ew.
Enough.
Anyway, so getting to Will Renke. When I think about you, several words come to mind, obviously.
I can imagine.
But the one that I was thinking about is serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
And so with that, how many businesses would you say you've started and owned over the years?
Where to begin with that one? I mean, do we take it all the way back? Because honestly, the LLC count doesn't really, begin to add up. I guess we can start from the beginning. Yeah. So technically, the first company I ever had was called Helping Hands.
Okay. That
was started on an airplane on my way to Hawaii. So I was just getting into college. And
how old?
I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
Going into my freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah, not even graduated. Or I think I did. Might have just graduated at that point.
Okay.
So I knew I was going to start college, and I didn't want to do any type of I didn't want to find a job during college.
Okay.
But it was more the fact that I wanted to do something in construction. I knew going to college, because my goal was to come out of there and own my own business. That was absolutely my goal in the beginning of starting
that
college.
That was just
100%.
always even as a kid, you were like, I'm going to be a business owner.
Yeah, 100%.
And does that come from your family? Okay.
Yeah, I watched my dad run his company. I worked for my dad forever. And I knew that was the path I wanted to take. I knew I was not going to do a 9-to-5. And I didn't really know at that point what a 9-to-5 was. But I knew I didn't like that, didn't want any part of that. So I wanted to be the one to write my own paychecks.
Okay.
And as we'll see further down in this conversation, that has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
A lot more cons and pros. But Helping Hands. So going to Pennsylvania, where I went to school in Wilkes-Barre, King's College, they had something very interesting. And this whole business kind of stemmed from an opportunity, which most of the businesses I saw an opportunity and saw something that could lead from that. And that was with my pop. He asked me to come clean out his garage in the basement and do all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like fun, but I'll do that. So we spent the weekend, we cleaned everything out, loaded up a trailer, and brought it to the dump. So not only did I get paid for my pop, gave me like $100 for the weekend, gave me some beers. But when I brought all this junk to the junkyard, back then scrap weight, metal scrap weight was actually worth some money. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting paid to do this, but then also I can get paid to recycle this stuff. Like there could be something to this.
Yeah.
So I was on the plane. We came up with a company called Helping Hands. Did a little logo, wrote it on a piece of paper, designed it. It's like 2 hands shaking or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And went to college that year, that semester, and got a couple buddies. I brought down my trailer, which was really weird. My dad was like, "Why are you bringing a trailer to college? Like, why do you want this?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to clean out people's basements, and I'm going to, sell the junk for beer money." He goes, "Whatever."
I mean,
So
did you have a lot of family support though? Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah, my dad was
this
always
is
like,
what you wanted to do?
he was just kind of like, go do it, man. Keeps you busy as long as you get schoolwork done, which I never did any of that. But
Did your family or did your father in particular have something that he thought that you should grow up to be, or was it just kind of like just the be an entrepreneur kind of?
I think he
forge your own
always
path.
wanted me to follow in his footsteps for construction.
And do construction?
Yeah, but he never actually said that at any point.
Okay.
And I'll get into that aspect later to why I think that was the case.
Okay.
But I did that. And remember, at this point, I had no idea what I was doing. I have zero. I wasn't even in college at this point. Now,
Yeah.
I was going to college, and I double majored in psychology and business. So my goal was to understand like
interesting.
the
Yeah.
basics of business.
But I mean, the psychology thing I think is really interesting, and I think it's probably you've played off of that a lot, I would imagine. I mean, especially knowing what you do now. But I think the psychology thing, psychology and business, I think just go hand in hand, and
100%.
people just don't. I think they should sell that in colleges more as a concept, right? Like psychology classes should go with business classes because especially if you're dealing with the public, right? I mean, knowing what motivates people, whether they're individuals or groups of people, I think is so important. And my background too, I took a lot of psychology classes, took a lot of sociology classes, and I lean on that probably just as much as I do any of the business classes I took.
Could not agree more, especially now with everything's online and, social interaction is changing so much. So psychology is such a big aspect because when you do have those encounters with people, I mean, you can't avoid it, right? You can only work from home so much.
Right.
With all those remote jobs, I mean, essentially you're going to have to get out in the real world.
But even working from home, I mean, like you see,
on the Zoom meeting, like to look at someone's body
Exactly.
language and look at their face, look at their expressions, like how do you read that and how do you play off of that is so very important. I think a lot of people overlook just the basic human responses to conversations to where I think you bring up a good point. That should be something very mandatory in today's education system, but that's a whole nother topic that we're going to skip over
That's
for right now.
different podcast.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So got that started. It was successful in the sense that, I got some jobs, cleaned out some basements, brought some junk to the scrapyard.
Bought some beer.
Yeah. Had a lot of fun with friends, but it was also my first real learning experience to how to market, how to do things properly. Because once again, didn't pull a permit, never had an LLC, I wasn't, incorporated, none of that. It was just like a fun little business. Apparently you're not supposed to stick things in mailboxes.
Yeah, no, that's bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's federal
That's
offense.
a federal
Yeah.
offense. So I learned that. I got a nice little letter, I think a phone call at that time, saying don't do that. So it was like a slap on the wrist, but it was like, okay,
Secret
I get
Service.
that. So then I learned about I learned about door hangers.
Yeah.
So I transitioned. I understood what it took. So from that point, that probably went for 2 years. So my sophomore year, I was able to move off campus.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, do I want to rent an apartment? Like, I don't want to be on campus anymore. And then I kind of looked at the area and I was like, man, why do I want to rent something when I could be a landlord?
Okay.
Potentially at that point. That was just my thinking. So I found a really nice house, a two
It was
family
really
house.
just the way that Will could have a nicer place to live.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, because, for
Yeah.
what rent was
Makes
and what
sense.
it was like, how can I do this in a way that I can control it and have something really awesome?
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to my dad. We found a really nice house, two family. Upstairs was a family that was living there for many, many years. Downstairs was vacant, put an offer on it. Of course, my dad. It was pretty much my dad buying this. I was just the landlord.
Sure.
Or the landlord's helper. But it was a great experience. It was my first taste in kind of real estate, looking at how you do it, how you make an offer, and then obviously looking at, what costs associated to that. And I think the biggest aspect of that, I wasn't at that point a college kid anymore in the sense that like I had equity. I had responsibilities in that house to where I wasn't just renting it as a college kid and, destroying it because I wasn't destroying my own property. So that was a very interesting piece for my next 2 years of college. Because I remember, when I rent out the rooms to my friends, I'm like, yo, you guys can't do this, don't do this. I was very anal. Like I was really, really anal about that. Plus I had a family living upstairs with kids. So that whole respect thing and kind of I still wanted to have a lot of fun. I still threw a lot of parties, but I didn't want to lose a tenant that was paying income.
Right.
So that was my first taste into that real estate aspect. So I wouldn't consider it a second business by any means, but it was more of a learning experience for something to come in the future. So after graduating college, I feel, that was definitely helping hands. And then my senior year in college, my friend throughout college, Drew, at that point, I was like, okay, what do I do? Graduating, I have this psychology degree. I have this business degree. I knew I wasn't going to do anything with that in the sense of, hand in my resume, trying to get a job. So
you weren't doing internships or anything like that?
No. I was working for the School of Will, trying to come up with my own crazy ideas.
Sure.
And that was interesting because that time, not tablets, like BlackBerries were just coming out. So there was no social media. Facebook just started.
Okay.
Facebook started my sophomore year. So that was but that marketing, it was just for people to, leave messages and communicate. It
wasn't
really,
what it is
right,
today.
it was nothing,
Yeah.
right. So Drew and I decided to start a fence company. So I moved back home, moved back to New Jersey, and we started Garden State Custom Fencing. So this was my real first company. We got our LLC, we got it incorporated. It was it was a partnership. We set everything up, bank accounts, lines of credits, all this. We had vendors for fencing equipment, all this stuff. So that was definitely the first taste of something real.
Yeah, because now you have all of the different, like you said, vendors and a partner and
So it was
legitimate.
real at that point, because college did teach me a little bit, about the business aspect. It never taught me anything about the real world application of it.
Not. Yeah.
But it definitely helped with the foundation of do this, this, and this. And then from there, you're on your own, which was good enough. So the first year of that was really good. We did a lot of work for my dad, his dad. And then we started, once we kind of got, a little bit of energy going and kind of the understanding, because once again, remember, I had no idea about fences.
Right.
This all stemmed from one summer. One summer in college, his dad was building a house and we were his lackeys. We were just working for him, doing all different types of work. And he's like, oh, I got to put this fence up in this $20 million house that he was building. So we're like, yeah, we'll do it.
Sure.
So we built a fence. And then we looked at each other wow, we should do fences. And that's literally where that came from, was just doing a fence job for 1 week.
It goes hand in hand with the construction.
Of course.
And
And it was fun. It was something we could do. We did that.
Just not a year-round thing, though.
No, it is not a year-round thing, which led to some interesting experiences. So in New Jersey, the ground freezes.
Yes.
It's very cold. So unfortunately, you can't dig holes. But before I tell you about the interesting thing that we did with that, we were very fortunate in getting some contracts. So we got a contract with Costco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were doing all the inside fencing for Costco.
Inside fencing.
Yeah. So it was the 10-foot high commercial chain link fence that you see in Costco that they still have. So we did that. And then we got some contracts with Verizon for cell phone towers.
Nice.
But so we were doing really good, but we were still bored in the wintertime. So we're in our office and they had those old magazines, the newspapers, and there was all different little things in the back. And one of them said, do you want to be a U.S. recovery agent? And I think instantly me and Drew were like, well, I don't know what this is, but this sounds amazing.
What is it?
U.S. recovery agent, and lo and behold, AKA bounty hunter.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Drew and I went to Newark, New Jersey, and everyone listening.
Fencing in the
if you
summer.
know Newark, pretty gnarly area.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newark is a gnarly area.
Not the greatest area.
No, not the greatest area at all.
Did you catch any big time criminals or?
Well, so we took our weekend class and
the whole weekend.
The whole weekend, yeah. And to get certified at the end, we had to get pepper sprayed in the face. So those pictures live on Facebook. So those are very interesting.
Look that up.
Oh yeah. So we got our badges, and in our adventures of bounty hunting, we successfully brought in one person, and that person didn't deserve the treatment to which we we
What did he do?
bestowed upon him. I believe he just skipped court hearing for a DUI.
Oh, so he was DUI.
Just a DUI. It was just like, it was so ridiculous.
And you acted like he was, serial
in
killer,
our
probably.
he was Al Qaeda. So we were 100% in our opinion going after Al Qaeda. That's how we treated this.
Nice.
We went to his house that the warrant was stated on, and lo and behold, he was just there on his couch in his underwear. And it's interesting when you are a bounty hunter and you have a paper, essentially your bail bondsman, that person gives up their rights. So we don't have to knock. We don't have, no, there's no knocking.
You just bust right
It's
in.
not like a
Even as
police
just a
officer, it's not
regular
like-
old bounty hunter. Like you
Oh,
don't-
yeah. Yeah, if you had that person.
So they basically give you all the same things that police have, the
No,
same.
even better. No.
Authority.
Yeah,
Really?
search warrant. Yeah. So this goes beyond a search warrant in the sense that, like, if we see them enter a premises or we have suspicion that they're anywhere in that, we can just go in that building. It's it's a really weird gray area that's very intriguing.
Yeah.
And this is also what, 10, 15 years
And
ago.
now you got
so.
two, recently graduated college kids.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Totally not prepared.
running
Like you should never give people like this a badge. So
Do you
Drew,
still have this badge?
yes, the badge is still in my office.
Is this
at my
like a
desk.
lifetime
it's so expired.
certification or whatever it is you did for the week?
No.
Okay, good. So it's expired?
No, I just have a badge, a metal badge that I, when I would get pulled over in Jersey, I would flap it out, and cops were like, "What?
Get
What
that
the
away
hell is
from
this?"
me. Yeah.
So kicked in the door, and he was very confused, as one would expect. And Drew started hitting him with his mag flashlights.
Nice.
And then I proceeded to pepper spray him.
Just for no reason.
For no reason. Yeah. He was, no.
Oh, wait, he
no.
was resisting?
Yes, he was resisting. He was 100% resisting.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so we have to just state that for the record. He was resisting.
Okay.
So we
And you wrestled him to the
handcuffed him.
ground in
Yep.
his underwear?
Well, he didn't really move too much, but he was resisting. He was verbally resisting, and his arms didn't go in the position that we wanted his arms and legs
okay.
to be hogtied. And so we had to forcefully put them there.
So you used your wrestling skills.
Yep,
here.
yep. Wrestling skills
Okay.
definitely came in handy in bounty hunting. Yep,
Got it.
Yep. Subdue people and control them, and then handcuff them. Brought them to the police station. Cops were very confused. But at the end of the day, it was all well within the means of.
Okay. And you got paid.
Yeah, I think we got paid like $100, $200 possibly. Now, mind you, at that point, we're thousands of thousands and thousands,
I'm picturing this
thousands
was
of
not,
dollars
lucrative.
invested. No, it might be if you use like your full time real thing. By the time we bought all our gear, outfitted the Bronco.
Because you were like fully outfitted.
Oh, fully outfitted.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Bulletproof vests, which all the kit, the gear, the boots, the gas money that we spent driving. That we had a van. We also
Did you
had
like
a Bronco.
case his place and
No, that one was easy. We just showed up.
you just showed so
We
like
just showed up.
first time?
Yeah, but all
there
the
he
other
is.
ones we never saw or
How many
did
would you
anyone.
say you searched for?
Probably 10 people. So we were one for 10.
But this is the one guy that
This
you
is the
caught.
one guy we caught. We almost got a $50,000 sheriff reward for someone.
Oh,
he was
wow.
actually wanted for murder.
Oh.
So that was a good one.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we were behind him a little bit. Didn't get him. So mind you, we don't have guns. They don't give guns to people in Jersey like that.
So fully
they
outfitted,
had guns.
but no gun.
no, just pepper spray. We
Just
were
pepper
the
spray.
epitome of a mall
Not
cop.
even a taser, just
no
pepper
tasers.
spray.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't give you guys
batons.
tasers either.
We had batons.
Oh, so you had like a
Yeah.
asp kind
Yep,
of thing? Nice.
absolutely. Retractable baton. Very stealth, very handy. So yeah, we got our one guy, and that was kind of the highlight and the end. We ended that at a high note.
beginning and
We got somebody. And we're like, okay, we're done with this. Let's focus back on fencing. So went back into the fencing career, and never really got away from it, but really focused in on it. We were doing really good. At that point, I had maybe a class I never took in college or never really paid attention to, and that was more of the what to do with your money, the finances part.
Okay.
Just the basic
Yeah,
economics.
so did you end up making any money from
Yeah.
this?
So we made a lot of money.
Oh.
But
you spent it all on being a
unfortunately-
bounty hunter.
Well, that and just being foolish and not ever understanding the fact of, these contracts come and go.
Won't always
We
be
weren't we weren't aware of the go part. So we'd make 1,000, spend 10,000.
Awesome.
So, all of these new tools and all these things and, credit card, lines of credit. And we're like, oh, this is so awesome. Let's pay the minimum and not worry about anything. So that kind of took its toll a little bit. We balanced out. Drew decided to go to Florida, start a new venture with selling insurance.
Okay.
And I decided to dive in deeper into the fence company.
Okay.
So I brought that back to North Jersey because we were in Clifton at the time.
Okay.
And then from that point, I knew I wanted to expand because once again, winter was still an issue. So from there, I kind of went back with my dad and looked at the opportunity because he was a general contractor and he was a builder. So he had access to everyone, all plumbers, electricians, drywall, finishers, framers, everything. So I was like, okay, what can I do from this that I can kind of get my feet wet? So I decided to start working on remodeling basements.
Okay.
So it was a good start. I knew that electric was minimal. Plumbing was very rare. It was mainly just drywall, finishing, and, some cool things like that, trim. All well within my wheelhouse of what I was able to do myself personally. So I started that. It was really successful. Did a couple of big basements, got some really good jobs once again through connections with my dad. Nice. But, kind of held my own. Had great accounts at 84 Lumber. And then that dove into an interesting situation. My father at that point was building a commercial building. Okay. So he was just finishing framing it. And right before that, my buddy Hudson got out of the Army. So he moved to New Jersey after he finished. He was in Iraq. He was a scout sniper, and he was doing fencing with me. And then he was doing all the basement remodels. So my dad's like, hey, I got a whole bunch of work on this building with me. So we did everything from framing, drywall, all this stuff. So we were essentially fencing on when we get a job, but then working with him full time.
Did you like it?
Loved it. That was amazing because I was doing everything from mason. I was doing stone
So you
work.
like the variety?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was learning from the electricians. So one thing I will take you back. I guess I can never say I've never worked for anyone. I have. I worked for my dad.
Okay.
And that first time working for him when I was very young, we went to the job site. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Where's my hammer? Just assuming that I'm going to get a hammer and smack things.
Right. Yeah.
And my first tool actually was a broom.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Until you master a broom, then you can have other tools. And that really stayed with me my whole life because, he was the cleaner your job site is, the cleaner you do things and the more you show the people that work for you that this is how you operate and how you work, they're going to work to your standards. You just leave shit everywhere and you're
That's
a
what they're
mess
gonna
and a
do,
slop.
yeah.
They don't care. They have no respect for your job site. So every morning when you get there, you clean. You're the first person to clean, the last person to clean. And that really, really, truly helped me from fencing to everything I did because even customers saw that. You don't want to leave someone's property a mess. Yeah. You don't want to do that. The more respect you have for everyone else and how you operate, not only does it help the job overall, but it also just appearance-wise is fantastic.
If it's a training tool, right?
Yeah,
I think that's great. Did your father do that with everybody or was it just you?
I don't know. That's how he operated.
Okay.
So I would
that's what I mean. Like
correct.
I could see that being like his MO. Like somebody comes on, like, okay, this is what you get until I you can be trusted and you show that you respect what we're doing here and understand that this is the business that we run.
I guess, because he never really had because everything was union too. Okay. So it was a little different. I was definitely a special case. He didn't really have people working. They were for trades, different trades, and he ran the whole job to organize the trades and stuff.
Got it.
But yes, I would assume so.
Yeah. But so it's interesting. So you took that and because I could see that in the work that we've done together and the construction projects that we've done together. Yeah,
we have.
I definitely
those were fun.
Yeah, done a few.
Yes, we have.
But I get that. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So we're building this building. And gets all done. And the first floor, he started renting it out. So kind of took that process, learning commercial real estate. And the first tenant that came in was actually Snap Fitness.
Oh,
so it was a gym. So Hudson and I were like, okay, this is cool. I met the owner. Her name was Sherry. And obviously, we still had to do some construction. She then hired my dad to do all the retrofitting inside. So then that was actually me and Hudson. We set everything up. So then I really got to understand, okay, look at all this gym equipment, what was going on. Because at that point, I was working out just to work out. in
Right.
college, high school, the gym was always my place to train for specific reasons, for wrestling, athlete, whatever that was. I never really worked out in the sense of like bodybuilding or
Sure.
any of that. It was just to be in great shape and just let stress out.
Okay.
So that was my first taste of looking at it from a business point of view.
Okay.
So we finished the gym. Gym was open, and it was called the Snap Fitness. So it was a franchise. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I spent some time here. And once again, winter comes up again. So slow. And Sherry, we developed a relationship. I kind of wanted to learn from her and see what this is all about. And Hudson and I decided to get our personal training license.
Nice.
So we could work there. So then we started
Had
training.
you thought about doing anything in that line before kind of the Snap Fitness experience?
No, I had no gym. A gym was never in my radar.
So there's, or I mean, anything like not physical work, but physical fitness related. Had it ever crossed your mind?
Oh, no.
Being a trainer, being
Nope.
nutritionist, any of that kind of stuff. This was
Zero.
kind of
It was all for personal.
got to see what it
Yeah,
was.
it was just.
about.
It was. I knew I had to build. If I ever wanted to get into that, the more she was talking, the more I was learning from her and how she got to the part of owning a gym. She kind of took steps.
Okay.
And the way I always look at a business is if all your employees go away or if anything stops, if you cannot handle and don't understand every single aspect of that business to a certain degree, you shouldn't be in it.
Right.
You have to have some understanding of each component to what makes up that business.
Sure.
So I wasn't really at the mindset of owning a gym at that point. I think maybe I was getting, oh, this could be really cool because I loved it. But training, I was looking at it from like extra money at that point, and I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
So spent the winter personal training, and I would say probably a week into that, I was like, okay, wait a minute.
You were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked in the sense of like, I don't have control of this. This isn't my gym. This isn't, I love it and I could see where it's going. So I talked to Hudson, talked to Sherry, and we kind of got a quick little lesson on, what it would be like to own a Snap Fitness and a franchise. So fast forward 6 months, Hudson and I decided to buy a franchise.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up buying a Snap Fitness franchise. And really all that is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It was like 15 grand. And that $15,000 essentially said, you can own a Snap Fitness somewhere in this territory of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So the next steps as followed were interesting because when we did this, we were under the impression that Snap Fitness would help
you,
finance, right? They would help with financing, the equipment, and all these things, which they do and they don't. They essentially just have the vendors that you have to use,
Right.
which
It's
that's
more of a
whole
restriction
nother,
than,
it was a
than an
restriction.
assistance. Yeah.
And that I wasn't happy about, but I was more excited about the financing aspect because I knew I didn't have the funds to come anywhere close. And where was I going to get these funds? So I figured if I was a franchisee, I would be backed.
Sure.
And essentially have a backer for the money because they would want this to work because they're I'm making money for them.
But did you buy it directly from them or did you buy it from someone who had already had? Okay.
No, so you have to buy directly from them, get approved and all this stuff. So we made it through all that. We found our stake. We found our location. We found our building. We found, we went through rent, commercial real estate, understanding that, all the different terms in commercial real estate, looking at, it's a lot of different aspects that I had no idea, but I was learning.
Even more stuff.
Yeah,
that you
crazy.
hadn't been exposed to.
And it was fun. It was a great experience. So we had it and we're like, okay, cool. We got this. This is what we need. This is how much money we need. And it was like, I don't know, 300,000 for whatever it was.
Did you do a business plan?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. First real big.
So legit sat down and planned this out.
100%.
So this was not like a fly by the seat of our pants.
No,
this was a legitimate.
No, this was a legit.
The right way.
Yeah. I still have that somewhere. It was laminated because there wasn't like docs. It was like we walk in with multiple presentations to sit down with banks. Like it was legit as it could be at that point. And essentially got denied.
Ugh.
So we're like, okay, well, the franchise will back us. And they're like, oh, no, we don't do that. You have to get your own money. So that was a devastating blow.
Yeah.
Hudson and
Well,
I
I mean, they sell them like it's going to be this, anybody can do it kind of cure-all kind of thing. But like I said, in the end, it's a formula. It's not really the assistance that a lot of people go into a franchise thinking that they're going to get. Because like I said, it's really more, these are the rules that you can operate in, and I'll send you some marketing materials so you don't have to build your own marketing. But beyond that, you're kind of on your own.
You're on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to pay us.
Right. And they take a huge percentage.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole nother situation in itself. So that was a pretty big blow, not getting that to go through. So we were still doing fencing, we were still doing construction, and I believe Hudson and I just kind of had a conversation. We're like, okay, this isn't going to work. What do we want to do? Do we want to kind of two options? We could sell the franchise, which we knew.
So you never even got it open.
No,
you never got it off the ground. It was just
never even signed a lease.
In its infancy.
Not even. Yeah, it was still a piece of paper at that point.
Yeah.
Hudson didn't see his family for years and years. So he decided that he was going to move back to Colorado and do something.
So lost your partner.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So we decided to take a trip to Mexico.
Okay. Regroup.
Kind of regroup, just kind of hang out, see what happens. And I was walking on the beach, and this girl walked by me that had angel wings tattooed on her back, and I, ironically enough, have angel wings tattooed on my back. And for the next 6 months, we started seeing each other. She happened to live in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And I'm this Jersey guy doing all this Jersey stuff and this Southern Belle nonsense. That's the point when Hudson and I came to that conclusion. I was like, all right, well, construction's good, but nothing was really holding me down to some crazy thing that I was going to keep doing this in Jersey.
Sure.
And I decided, I'm young, why not? Let's take a risk.
And now I got a girl in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. So packed everything up and everybody went our way, and I drove down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
So it was good. I mean, you parted with Hudson amicably. He
there was nothing. There was nothing.
That's good.
No one's fault. We both knew that. I mean, shit happens.
Yeah, exactly.
We took a risk and didn't work. So came down to Myrtle Beach. I did some research beforehand. I knew what I was going to do in Myrtle Beach. I had a company I set up called Beachside Fence.
Okay.
So I was going to stick right into fencing. It was a
fencing,
really easy transition. I had a commercial unit already picked out. So that was signed before I even moved down.
Okay.
So moved down, went right to work, essentially. Was in my office every day, building out to my little man cave workplace. It was awesome. Welding, it was all awesome stuff.
What are you welding?
I don't know. I just wanted to weld. Yeah, I mean, you have metal, you got to weld stuff, which, ironically enough, came in very handy.
Yes.
But we'll save that for later. So really wanted to, because at that point, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any work I could showcase. I didn't have anything. So the
you
items
had to
that
totally
I did
make a
have,
name for yourself down here. Yeah.
So my office was something I could take photos of, and I knew I could kind of showcase
you're
work.
Your first client.
And then the house I moved into, I redid the whole garage, and I set it up to where I knew that could be a showcase of my abilities in construction. So open up Beachside Fence. That was fairly good. I didn't feel it as much. So I was like, okay.
You didn't feel it here as opposed to...
Yeah, in South Carolina. Yeah, it just wasn't... okay, for one, fencing is very different in South Carolina than it was in New Jersey. I was really specializing in the black wrought iron, very high-end...
Okay. Well, I mean,
decorative,
this is definitely a different demographic than what you're used to in New Jersey.
So when I was putting prices together... I was getting underbid terribly because what a hole would cost in Jersey, what a hole would cost here is totally different, which is fine. But also the material itself, I wasn't used to vinyl. Everybody wants to do vinyl down here. And I'm like, I hate vinyl. I don't like this. So I was pushing jobs away I didn't like to do, which you can't do that in the beginning. So I was like, all right, screw that. Let's do basement remodels.
Wow.
Well, there's no basements in South Carolina, which is fine. So I had to adapt. And I noticed in my neighborhood and pretty much in general, people love to hang out in their garages in South Carolina.
Yeah, very
doors
Southern.
open.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, well, that's still a room.
Yeah,
we can still modify that.
Yeah.
So I got into garage remodeling. I guess you could say. So I got some vendors there, cabinets, colors, flooring, the snap together flooring and all this different stuff. And like, depending on how people want it, you could do a movie theater room or just whatever, darts, game room. So I did that for a while. And where my office was located, it was very intriguing because I would say I was probably 6 months in at this point. And I never really thought of the gym. I never really, that blow of.
So you kind of like had put that behind you. It wasn't.
I was working out. I signed up to go to Crabtree. So I was working out. I was working out in Crabtree, which was fine. I mean, I didn't really have that in me. I went to American Athletic.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I signed up there.
But I mean, but like, were you really at this point, like you had your personal training certification, but like, were you, was it a lifestyle for you at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was working out pretty. Oh yeah, I was working out. Oh yeah, I was definitely working out in the sense of more general health.
Okay.
I guess it wasn't more body. It still wasn't that. I didn't understand like where I wanted to go with fitness. It was just because I enjoyed working out.
Okay.
So I would train, 4 days a week, 5 days. Yeah, it was an outlet. Yeah. I wasn't training to the sense of like understanding growth and what I was looking to accomplish out of my workouts. Okay. It was more of just general, the average kind of guy's workout. Because I was still really young, so genetics were on my side, and I didn't have to. I could still eat whatever I wanted.
Yeah. How old were you when you moved to Myrtle Beach?
25.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this all happened within a year.
Yeah. So you've already owned 5 businesses and
about 5, yeah.
And before you're 25.
Before I was 25.
Moved down here. Okay.
Yeah, so 5 in, but 25. Yeah, because I went to one bike week. Yeah. Because I had a Harley and an R6, so that's how I know. Because remember,
Okay.
So 25. So now at this point, I'm like 6 months in, and I'm starting to understand where I live. Like I started meeting people, hanging out with people, and where the office was located. On my drive home every day to Surfside, there was a building that I would just look at every single day. And it was the Sylvan Learning Center. And it was 3 identical 5,000 square foot buildings that had beautiful road frontage, signage. They were standalone. They were really, really nice. Okay parking. But the biggest thing that intrigued me was the road traffic. There was just so much traffic. It was on a main highway, 17. I was on 17 bypass. And so I think one day I was like, man, that would make a great gym. Don't know where it came from, but it happened. And do you
find yourself doing that on the regular? Like, is that something you do now?
Yeah, all the time.
It's funny. I asked that because, like, it's something that I do. And, like, I guess it's just one of those, like, if you're an entrepreneurial kind of person, like, this is just how your brain kind of goes. But, like, I drive by places and I'm like, wow, that would be a good spot. I don't know for what. But that is a great location.
100%.
Right? Like,
are you a daydreamer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am a compulsive, scary daydreamer.
Yeah.
Driving is the best thing I have in my life. I love driving. I love riding my motorcycle because it's weird though, because I don't know that I'm driving sometimes.
Oh yeah. Like you get lost.
Like I'll miss turns, but I'm so visually in a moment
to
where I'm building a business.
What you're doing.
Like I could be 100% into a company doing so many things, so many overwhelmed, but I'll daydream about something completely separate, a product, and I'll build it out from the beginning, and I'll take my whole drive, and I'll completely build this plan out, and I do it all. I would say funny. Actually every single day I do
like that. I do that incessantly. Yeah, and it's funny because, I think it's one of the things that you and I have in common and why kind of, you and I are a little bit of kindred spirits in that way is because I do exactly the same thing. And it's one of the things that I've always appreciated about you and I think kind of even gotten from you since I've known you is just that ability to recognize an opportunity and like always be looking for an opportunity, right? Which I think not enough people in the world do. Right? I mean, although I don't know what would happen if everybody did it, but
a lot more accidents.
Well, if everybody did it while they're driving like we do, but it's just I think just that's one of those skills that I guess you're probably born with that not everybody has that. You could just see the opportunity in a location or in an idea or a concept or, just, I don't know. And I think that's something that I've always gotten from you, and it's something that I do. And I think it's kind of what kind of draws us together a little bit. Because, not everybody has that. Not everybody's like that.
No. And I can visualize the paths, like the doors. So you take an idea. It's not just taking the idea and going with it. It's taking that idea and then putting 20 doors in front of you and then going through each one of those doors and then going to another door and relaying those steps and looking at, okay, if this goes wrong, then this happens and this goes wrong. Backing up, doing it again, and repeating that process 20 times over.
The what ifs,
Right. And I think that has really, really helped me, because I would think most people that know me think I'm very, instantaneous and just do it, which relatively I am, but I'm actually not.
Well, you're probably more like the strategic planner, the long-term planner, but in the moment, you're fly by the seat of your pants kind of.
But
it's because that's like something that I definitely we're the same, because I am I got to think it all out.
But I think my thinking process is just sped up tremendously.
Okay.
I don't think I ever say yes to something without, and I could say yes instantaneously.
Okay. But you've thought.
But as this conversation's happening and I know we're leading to that question, I'm already going through, because I'm like, okay, if I'm having a conversation with someone and are they about to ask me something that might do this, I'm already predetermining, thinking, if I say yes, I can do this, or if I no. So I'm already going through those steps instantaneously. So, I might think like I'm saying yes instantly.
So that's interesting, because I feel like that we actually have in common. But so do you find, though, that you have a hard time living in the moment because of that? Because you're always down the road?
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had to tattoo it on my arm, so, like right here where I can see it, so I could actually be reminded, enjoy the moment, because especially when you're doing things like, being an entrepreneur, you can miss just what you've created and the beauty of it and the greatness of it because you're worried about what comes next.
100%. And that is, I mean, I deal with that every day. Yeah. And it's hard, like having a podcast, like talking with you. I have a hard time, remembering a lot of the specific moments or details.
Yeah, because you're thinking ahead.
I already forgot about them because there were so many things in that moment that I'm really bad with dates and certain things I have to think about, because I don't focus on that particular accomplishment or achievement. It's so instantaneously over because I'm already thinking about, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you find that you're getting better as you get older?
No.
You're not?
It's getting worse because of the business I'm in now. It's actually actually getting much worse, progressively worse. But I'm at least now in my older years, I'm more conscious of it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
But it's, I'm trying. I'm sure I'll get there, but I'm more afraid of, when am I going to say that when I'm 70? But the plus side is we have digital recordings, so
Okay, so it'll happen.
Yeah. So
you've scouted a location.
Kind of. I saw an opportunity, envisioned something.
Yeah.
So I would say for the next 2 months, I privately just started thinking. 2 months seems like a long time. A month. Okay. I would say a month, because I'm pretty. So I would say about a month, maybe.
But are you somebody, too, that, you're going to have the whole thing figured out before you even tell me?
100%. Yeah, I had,
again, same.
Everything. Yeah. Before I opened my mouth, I was probably a month, maybe even a couple weeks. But, because I was so, when I said that, this is the weird part. So when I said that would make a great gym, the next week, something really close, there was a sign for a lease or for rent on that building. Because remember, I drove that every single day.
Yeah.
And then I saw
all of a sudden now it's
the
available.
lease, and I went, oh boy.
Yeah. Oh shit.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the moment. So from that point of seeing that, I knew time was not on my side. There was not many properties that were, for rent. It wasn't really happening. And that's where I got to work. I said, okay, where are all the gyms? Let me go back to Snap Fitness. I hated 99% of the things that Snap Fitness represented, how they did things. And remember, at this point, I don't have anything when it comes to a fitness company. I didn't have any vendors or anything. So I knew it had to be 24 hours. So I knew right off the bat that one thing I loved about Snap Fitness was it was a 24-hour gym. So I was very, very accustomed to that whole 24-hour aspect.
The concept of it,
And knowing Myrtle Beach at that time, there was no 24-hour gyms. And two, the people that worked in Myrtle Beach, there was a lot of waiters, cops, everybody. So a lot of people worked hospitality. So I knew the opportunity for that was going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning in this building is, that's when you got people here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I was like, okay, that's going to be 100%. That has to be it. So from there, I just started.
You like the 24 hours and you like the color scheme.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, they are red. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But they're not. Yeah, I guess they are the same color scheme.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
No, totally.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, red and black's awesome. So, screw that.
I'm going to deny that.
So.
I just know that's what color they are.
They are. Yeah, they are. That is true. I forgot about that. So from that point, I just started. That was it. That was the only thought that consumed my life. Looking at, once again, using Snap Fitness because it did really help. I think if I didn't have that experience at Snap Fitness, I don't think this would have ever happened. Right. And I don't think I would have happened, honestly, because I wouldn't have had that Kickstarter. Like nothing would have motivated me to do that. Well, anyhow, so I took their guidelines. Obviously, I had to change everything, put it into a different gym. But I looked at the protocol of what it took to get the facility open and all these things. So I had all that done probably 2 weeks.
That's pretty quick.
And then I started telling everybody. So that was my next step, telling my family, telling the person I was with, I'm going to do this. And then came the name.
Was everybody kind of receptive?
Thought everybody
it was a good idea?
Huge undertaking. I'm still 25 at this point.
Yeah.
And they also like, well, we know what happened the last time kind of situation, but it was okay. They're like, if you want to do this and you really feel this is an opportunity, I came at it from a much different approach. I came at it from an understanding of a failure. So I took my last failure and I took one of my experiences from that last failure and I brought it forward with me. So I was able to lay it out and articulate how I was describing it to the people I wanted to do this with much better.
And they could see that you learned from it.
Right. I wasn't guessing about things. I had a lot more confidence. I had a lot more understanding of the business to an extent that you possibly could have at that point. So I had all that prepared. And then came the most important part was the name. And honestly, the name was easy because I knew, so backstory to Sky Fitness. So my brother's name was Skylar. He passed away when I was 10. He was 5 years old. We were playing baseball together and he had an enlarged heart. So I, lived with that since 10 years old and experienced how that affected my family, my father, his business. And I would say that's going back to
have a huge impact not on you, your family. And I mean, it's something that forever
my mom and dad,
there.
especially my mom.
Oh, yeah.
And that what goes back to the beginning of the conversation I was saying, I would get to that about following in my father's footsteps. That day forever changed my dad. His construction business was no longer what he cared about.
Like it used to be his end all be all, and now it's not.
Like he was a big commercial builder and he stopped.
Oh,
he just stopped. He just didn't care. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to offend him in any way, but it just wasn't the same. The lack of motivation of life and what what he saw important was taken away from him.
His whole universe was
So I think that was a really big play on what led me to come to South Carolina in the first place. Actually, I can guarantee that's probably why I ended up in South Carolina.
How so?
Because following
just to get
my
out
father,
of Jersey?
I just needed a change, and I knew there. I don't think there was anything there at that point. So named it Sky Fitness,
which I think is great, by the way. And I mean, it's why it will always be Sky Fitness as long as it's me, because I think it's just. I remember you telling me that when you and I first sat down and talked about buying the business, and it was just one of those things that drew me to it, along with the great location and what you had built out of it. But just it really just says this is a family-based business, right? Like, because, and it's something that people to this day don't realize, especially with how it's grown, that this is a family owned and operated business that and it will always be, right? And I mean, that's the embodiment of that, right? And the fact that it is still called Sky Fitness. And I mean, people all over the country name their gym Sky Fitness, but it's for very different reasons.
Yep. And I had to fight that battle for you, which we won. We won that battle, so we're good.
But this, I mean, this is much more meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Like crazy, but 15 years later, I'm walking in and, Chris Strickland's there.
Yeah, people.
I mean, the memories I have of Chris from the day he signed up, I remember that vividly. I mean,
he's
an
somebody
hour
you don't
ago.
forget.
Right, but it's just like the fact that he's still here.
Yeah.
That relationship
I
has
think
moved
people
on
see
to
that. They
you
feel
and
it.
moved on. Yeah, it's an unbelievable experience.
Yeah. I mean, side story, I had a conversation with kid Steven Johnston.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Joe Bear?
And I said, how old are you? And, he said, I'm 28. I said, dude, you were a kid when I met you. And that's when I met him. And he had been going there for the longest time. And he's like, I'll never join another gym. This is my gym. And, I said him and another kid, Austin, that they were just children. And they're still here. They're grown men like that I see walking through here. And it's crazy.
That's awesome.
It's
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still so many of them. But that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because that was, even, starting with the name and then how you put that into the business. Like that was kind of the underpinning of the business was family to begin with.
Yep,
and
100%.
I think it shows, to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it was an undertaking at that point. It was once I made up my mind and I had the blessing of everyone in my, my family. I don't think I ever really needed the blessing, but it felt good to have it.
Oh,
it felt really good to have the support. Got everything together, figured everything out, where I was going to get all the, the vendors from. And one other piece of the story that really helped tremendously was not only was the location so amazing, and it was across the street from a place I've been going to for 6 months, but next door to my building that I rented was a place called Quality Fitness. So I'm like,
serendipity.
Insane. So at that point, I never met Duck. Until I decided I was going to open a gym across the street. And once I had everything pretty much figured out, I walked in there, opened those double doors, and I walked in, and he was sitting at the counter like he always does, and Cheryl was in the back. And I said, I want to introduce myself. I said, hey, I'm Will. I'm your neighbor over here, and I'm about to rent this building across the street for a gym. And he goes, what? He goes, who are you?
You're doing what?
What are you doing? And that was it. Me and him, he took me under his wing. And crazy enough, he had every bit of gym equipment that just came out of a gym in North Myrtle Beach that he was a partner in. And it was just sitting there, great condition, awesome stuff. It was only a couple of years old at that point. And
still here today.
Yeah, still here today. So quality fitness.
Yeah.
So he really helped me. We went across the street. He showed me how to lay everything out, and we kind of talked through it and what my vision was, how my flow. Because when you're designing a gym, as you know,
you found a guy who was willing to.
Oh my God.
And he wasn't going to be a jerk about it.
No.
Even though you're some 25-year-old kid walking in off the street, he actually helped you. I mean, that's
well, he
great.
was really helpful when I wrote him the first check.
I'm sure that helped.
Because when he first wrote me the bill, it was like $98,000 or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, he's like, I need 50%. I think when I actually wrote that check, I remember writing that check.
Oh, I bet.
For whatever $45,000 sitting at his little desk.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was milestone moments of my life that I haven't thought about for years and years and years, but I can vividly remember walking through there and where he was like yesterday. So yeah, now it comes the time. Lease is signed, everything's ready, and it was a Sylvan Learning Center. So what really helped me was all those prior businesses. Was two things. One, having at that point now is pretty good in construction. I had a pretty good background. I really knew my way around pretty much all types of construction to a certain degree. I did all the construction myself.
That's huge.
Which is huge. That saved me
huge.
Yeah, probably $100,000. I don't know. A lot of money.
At least, yeah. Because that place had to be all carved up with offices and all. I mean, that's yeah.
And I remember negotiating the lease with Lee Guy for the first time. He was offering me 2 months free rent of build out with a 5-year term with 2 more 5s, I think, because you had it with a 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So I got him to one. I got 3 months.
Okay.
But I knew in my business plan with cash flow and what I was going to be able to get after I sold all my worldly possessions, which I literally sold everything I
I
had,
believe that.
and then took a lot of loans. I knew I could only have 2 months to officially build it and then use a month of opening for pre-sale to get my cash flow before rent actually started. So once again, experience, I had that understanding of I didn't just waste 3 months dilly-dallying around. So right to work, 18, 19, 20-hour days. I mean, there were times where I slept there. My dogs came. I was sleeping there, waking up and
Your
working.
family helped?
My dad and my pop came down, which was amazing. I have so many videos. I think that was like the starts of recording things. But yeah, so we started doing demos, setting everything up, spraying the ceilings. And then it was weird because I think a month and a half in that construction, the person I was with was doing a lot of work on remodels in Florence, and we found a really good house that we wanted to buy for a remodel. And I'll never forget this. We're like, the sign was going up. The Sky Fitness sign was getting put on the wall. And Tyson Signs, I think it was Tyson Signs? Haynes Signs, like, hey, your sign's coming up in a week. And we found this house in Florence Mullins. Sorry. We found this house in Mullins across the street. Oh, maybe it was Florence. Yeah, Florence Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
still
Florence.
far.
Yeah, it was. So it was a condemned house that was going on auction. And it was like, I don't know, 15, 16 grand. But I knew the rent there was Section 8, and I knew the rent would do really well.
Oh, okay.
So we decided to buy this house.
On top of everything else they were doing.
Signs coming in a week. And we remodeled a condemned house in 1 week with a crew and ourselves. Working at night one week. Yeah. Wow. And had it rented out in 2 weeks. And got
so you took a break from the gym?
No. Worked at the gym during the day.
Part-time.
And we're doing that at night and vice versa. Have people, doing that. So that was I remember that. It was a really bad neighborhood. It was a really bad neighborhood. But that was a really interesting experience to try and take that on. That I think that shows
down,
that shows my mental stability of my 80. I don't even know what you
saw the opportunity.
Yeah, I saw an
pass
opportunity.
It by. This is what we got to do.
In hindsight, terrible idea. Terrible idea. Shouldn't have done that, but I did. So sign went up, gym was done. So now comes my first taste of marketing.
Because this is pre-Planet Fitness and
there's nothing.
Area. It's really just
me, Gold's Gym, American Athletic Club,
North
Myrtle, Crabtree, which I never really considered Crabtree to be because it was a very different aspect. They were closed very often, but it is what it is. So that was it. And then that first week of pre-sales just got done. And this is the time where I was sitting there going, "Uh-oh,
yeah,
is this the right decision?
Yeah,
am I gonna totally lose everything, or what's gonna happen here?"
Yeah. Did you know how to do kind of So you were doing paper, radio, television, it was just
no. This was just this was like a
sign.
Little bit of this is mostly from the sign because during construction process, a lot of people were stopping in.
Okay.
So once that one sign went out on the marquee outside, then people started coming in. So I was
but you were getting a good word of mouth.
People started to know, and that's when all the advertisers started coming in too. Like iHeartRadio came in, newspapers started coming. So then I was also getting a taste of where I was going to advertise.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to go out and. Because this is old school marketing at this point, right? Like everybody's foot on ground, everybody's doing it for you essentially.
But still not easy to maneuver.
Know where to put your money.
Yeah.
Because money at this point, every dollar was very important at this point.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit pre-sale. I think we did advertise the pre-sale.
Were you doing out of the gate, even in the pre-sale, you were what you ended up with in terms of a strategy for memberships? Or did you start off trying to do something different?
As far as expectations?
No, I mean like in terms of no contract, here's the rate.
Yeah, so that was set. That was completely done in the business
So out of the
plan.
gate, you knew that that's what you wanted to do.
Right. So it was no contracts, no sign-up fees, no enrollment fees. We knew no contracts. I knew I wanted that 24
Which was
hours.
different than what everybody
Correct.
else was doing.
So
Everybody else was doing contracts.
Two things, no contracts and 24 hours.
Okay.
And then, and the no sign-up fees.
Right.
So those three aspects of marketing really helped, separate the business from all the other competitors, from all the other gyms that were existing at that point. So that was very helpful.
So did you have a good pre-sale?
So once again, I went into that with zero expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I would get 2 people, 100 people. I couldn't put that in the universe to have some sort of expectation. I just knew when I looked behind me and I looked at what I built, I was very happy with.
And the bills that were coming.
Yeah. But I knew,
But you were proud of what you had, and that's what mattered.
Right, exactly. Because I remember I had a month. I knew, because I was 2 months in, right up to 2 months. And I had a month of free rent still. So I was like, okay,
So
I'm not
time.
stressing out right now. I knew what my overhead was because it was just me. I didn't really need anybody at that point. So I knew what my monthly nut was essentially. So yeah, the first member walked in during sign up. So it was Murray. Murray was member 0001, and I signed him up. And I think that felt really good to have that one membership. That first member. Yeah. And Murray, after I signed him up and he hung out for hours in the gym talking to me, wouldn't leave. He's like, I do some video work. He's like, we should make a video. And I'm like,
nice.
Okay, let's do it. So I made like a how-to video of the gym, how it worked, because a lot of people didn't understand 24 hours. How do you sign in? How do you get in? Oh, yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah. Welcome to Sky Fitness.
Yeah. I think there was a couple of them that
There's
I watched.
a couple of them. Yeah, but that one's interesting. So yeah, got that. And I think in the pre-sale, now we're right at that last week of 2 months. And I think I got 100 people, maybe something like that. It was enough to where I was like, okay, this is great. At $39.99.
Yeah, that's something.
I was good. I covered my rent.
Yeah.
So I would say for the next, I don't know, 3-4 months, people will start really flowing in. Now it was word of mouth. Now I'm on radio shows doing things. And then that's what led me, that instant success. I wouldn't really call it success, but sure, you call it success. People were coming in, people were paying me money, so it's success. Led to the multiple businesses that came from this creation because I was couldn't control myself.
Yeah.
So when I first opened the gym, I had to have t-shirts made.
Okay.
And I can't remember who I went to. I had 50 shirts made. And after I got them back, I'm like, no.
This is ridiculous.
This is unacceptable. I'm not paying someone to do this for me when I can go out and I know there's got to be a better way.
It can't be that hard.
So I still had my office across the street at that point. So I was like, screen printing. What's this? So I looked into it, went to Ryanette, became a vendor. I bought all this screen printing equipment. I bought a 4-head press. I bought dryers, all this stuff, a whole kit. And I started making my own Sky Fitness shirts. I'm like, this is great. Now my margins have increased tremendously. My investment was only like $2,000. I paid that off in the first batch of shirts. But that also led to people walking in saying, oh, well, who does your shirts? Because now, the gym, we have a couple hundred members, 300-400 people. Everything's kind of cruising at that point.
It's a company. Yeah.
Right. And then people were like, hey, I want to do this. So then I ended up doing King Street Grill shirts. And I started doing softball shirts. And I started doing Myrtle Beach Chef, like all these companies. So now I had this machine across the street that I had to fulfill orders with screen printing. Luckily enough, I had some guys that wanted to do it. It was pretty basic work for the most part.
Yeah.
And then, so that was Sky Screen Printing, which that actually lasted for a long time.
I mean, you still had the equipment.
Yeah, that lasted for a really, really long time. I would say
you did the shirts
forever.
After I bought it for a while.
Yeah, forever. And then came Sky Vision, which that was an interesting one. So Sky Vision was... I did all the security cameras. And back then,
from
the
gym.
Gym. All the security cameras back then were RG59. It wasn't like Cat 5, Cat 6 power
school.
over.
Yeah.
So much easier today to run cables, when then it was much harder. But anyhow, had someone come in who's still a member to this day, Jesse McKnight. And he goes, hey, who did your cameras? I'm like, oh, yeah, I did. He goes, I got a car dealership. I'm like, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Oh, absolutely.
I got that. So I ended up doing that. I did a couple more cameras at tattoo shops. I started doing that at night because it wasn't enough to own a 24-hour gym that I would get phone calls all the
if
time.
the door doesn't open.
Door doesn't work. I was getting, so
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm already not sleeping. You know,
Might as well be making shirts.
I
And
essentially had
hanging
a
cameras.
newborn child is what it was that never got older. It was a newborn that stayed newborn for, 5 years. So I was like, well, I'll just work. So I did that. I was installing cameras at night. So that was the second company that came of that. And it was pretty good, successful, definitely made a lot more than I invested into it. But,
Well, that's good.
but
Now you got 3 businesses you're running at the same time.
and that's
which
the
is
problem, right? Like,
insanity.
is the money really worth? Are you actually making more money?
Yeah. Do I
like,
have a
that's the
life?
question.
Am I
Well, the
losing my
life part I could
mind?
get around. It was more the fact that like, were you actually making more money? Because if you're taking away time from this monster that was being built and you're not focusing on it, are you losing money over here? So where you might actually think you're making money, you're actually losing a terrible amount of money.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
can
actually what
definitely
was happening.
relate to that. Yes.
So those were kind of the businesses that came from Sky. Still doing some construction
I feel
jobs.
like I saw car wash signs somewhere around in closets and shit.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That was a bummer. Yeah, that was a bummer one. That was that was a shitty situation.
I just don't see the tie into that one, and not surprised that it was
Opportunity,
a bummer.
looking at
Well, I mean, I can see the
money.
other ones like I had to do the cameras. I had
Yeah,
to do
the
this.
car
like,
wash one was like, that was just me being dumb. That was just me thinking, that was a dumb one. That was not doing
Was
research.
it like hand car washing?
No, it was like it was more B2B. It was more detailing for dealerships, setting up crews.
Okay.
So it could have been very lucrative, but it would have to be like, I could have done it, but you have to dedicate. This was
You
not
can't have 3 other jobs.
right. This was not that thing you
Yeah.
could try and do because it was there. The money was there, but you couldn't walk away, come back, walk away, come
Right.
back. So
not a
lesson learned there. So the next 2-3 years was really, really good. We were really impacting the community. I was really part of the community tremendously. I was doing a lot of donation stuff. I was working with charities.
Well, I mean, you had the tagline of where family and fitness come together, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does have that community aspect to it right out of the gate, right? Like that we talked about. So, I mean, so you found then that having the gym business helped you kind of gain, not standing in a community, but like, build a community in Myrtle Beach.
No, of course.
And be a part of that. I mean, because that's
100%.
something that I've found too. I mean, my friends, almost all of them come from the gym, and it's, I'm thankful that I did that being a transplant too, because, and it was one of the things that I had in my mind of like, this is, how you can kind of put down roots and be a part of the community because you're selling a service, right? And I mean, down here, there's so many small businesses, and that's what I love about it. And it really does kind of just ground everybody, but it does help. It brings people together, when you're being a business owner down here, and I love that.
100%. Yeah, because I was on the radio all the time. The morning Fox, local Fox. I was doing a segment in the morning. Like I would do workout tips and stuff, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, you were on the news. You
I was
said
in the news. I was in the news in the morning. And that's where I would say that's kind of like where it really started to get real. 1,000 members, 1,200 members, something like that.
Yeah, that's
so it
impressive.
was becoming real.
Yeah, especially back then. I mean, the
$40
community
a
wasn't
month.
as big as it is now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and $40 a month times 1,200. Pretty good. Pretty good. I had a boat, Sky Fitness wrapped, was driving
Of course,
around.
everything had to be wrapped, I'm
everything
sure.
was wrapped. So that's kind of what really like led me into that success, saying, okay, what's next? How do I ground myself and really, where do I go? So from there, I decided to dabble in politics, which was very interesting. But
I don't see you having the patience for that.
no, county council is where I wanted to go. But then I was so weird that like, I was like, okay, well, I want to do this. But
Was there something that you wanted to get out of it, or is it just
no,
like somebody
I don't
said,
know.
"Hey, you
Recognition.
should do this"?
No, because then at this point I
name
was like, I
recognition.
wanted to be I wanted to be like someone in
Somebody.
the community.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like I had the gym, but I didn't want to just be known for the gym guy.
Okay.
I wanted to start really building my roots. I was like, okay, I want to get back into real estate development. I wanted to be
You wanted
like
to be a name.
Yeah, I wanted to be
in Horry County. Yeah.
because that's in in Myrtle Beach. I don't want to say barter. It's not barter system, but it's who you know.
Yeah,
And
no,
there's nothing wrong with
absolutely.
that. As long as you treat everyone right and you do the right things, it's fine. So that got me into this opportunity called the Freemasons. So I was like, okay, Freemasons. Yeah. If I do that, it'll really help my political career. I'll know even more people because they're the staples in the community that are really running things underground.
But that's really smart.
definition.
Had you thought of it before you thought of politics, or was this really kind of linked to this is a path?
They went hand in hand.
Okay.
They were kind of happening simultaneously because I was asked, people were asking me about Freemason. There was a couple guys in the gym, they're old school, and they kind of, asked about my home life and what do you do? So that they kind of seek out people like that.
Yeah.
So that's when I learned, researched a little bit more, and I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. So I got nominated or recruited. So I went. I'm a Freemason. So
That's a lifetime
apprentice,
thing?
Yeah, I'm an apprentice
Wow,
Freemason.
nice.
Which that is something I would never ever want to take back ever. I'm so thankful for that opportunity. I'm so grateful that I did that because to this day, it's such an amazing conversation starter with other Freemasons. So typically, most higher level Freemasons, they'll wear a ring or they'll wear something, a pin or their car. You'll know if they're Freemason.
So you'll know, yeah.
So I can address them as a,
Okay.
as a Freemason myself with a certain handshake, and it's just instantaneous. Relationship is instantaneous.
Oh yeah.
So that has really helped out, and it's just a great piece. And then they always say, well, "Why did you stop?" I'm like, "Well, I'm taking a break." So decided to shy away from politics. That wasn't for me. But I'm happy I went down that first path of being a Freemason. So from there, we started really developing the gym. The gym was 24 hours. We started having a really good mix of individuals, mainly
what was the demographic at the time?
just average people working out. Most of the people,
men and women,
very, very mixed.
Younger demographic, though. I'm guessing.
No, still, no. We had high school kids to 7. We had some older. Yeah, but majority was 20 to 45.
Okay.
100%. That was the majority.
Sure.
Excluding the summertime, because the summertime was amazing people that came through every year for vacation. But that's a whole different situation. So the gym started really developing who the gym was, and then took an interesting turn because.
Were you offering like classes at the time, or
so there
was it really just...
no classes at that point.
Okay.
It was just personal training.
Okay.
So I had trainers come in that worked in different gyms, and they had different clients, didn't want to travel different gyms. So I'd let people come in, they'd pay me a percentage of what they were doing. I'd sign up, So essentially it was all subcontractors. Yeah, subcontractors, all contractors. And I had 2 full-time trainers that worked for Sky.
Okay.
Just because they had a good clientele base. So I had my PT license still in Jersey, so then I was also training people. My training sessions would work around my schedule, like Jesse, I had certain people I would train. And then came the time when this whole bodybuilding crew started coming in, because most of the real bodybuilding aspect was happening in Gold's Gym.
Okay.
And then we had a couple guys start coming over because I had a really nice set of free weight, like 150-pound dumbbells. That kind of drew people in. Certain squat racks, weight, like the certain things that we had they'd fit a little bit more of that certain specific type of workout. So we had some guys come in and that were getting ready for a show. First, his name was Craig. So Craig was my first experience with bodybuilding. But truly, my first experience really was with Duck and Cheryl. So Duck was an NPC judge and a coach, a prep coach, and Cheryl was a professional female bodybuilder.
Right.
So people across the street, that was their life. They were associated with the NPC. They were a judge. They had all those credentials. And I never really put anything together earlier in that. Until one day when one of the gym members, Murray, ironically enough, gym member 0001, said, "Why aren't you competing?"
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I didn't have a really good answer. I was like, I don't know. I guess I should compete.
Yeah.
So there goes that next chapter of
Let's dive head
Sky
first into that.
Fitness into the competition bodybuilding world.
So were there a lot of people looking to do competitions in the area at the time, or was it still just, there's a couple, but like most people don't have any idea that it even exists?
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't really know much about it. It was very, very, Greg. Like Craig, that was
Yeah.
a couple, maybe at goals, maybe 2 or 3 people. It wasn't anything that anyone really thought of. Just like myself, I didn't think of it. Well, after my first show, which was
go?
horrible, by the way, very unconditioned, but didn't know what I was doing, because in order for me to showcase myself, I had to learn my own. I couldn't show anything. Yeah. I had to use my own body as an example for this. I think the first show I lost like 30 pounds, and I was still like 15 pounds overweight. Horrible. Oh, yeah, it was really bad. So I was like, okay, that's never going to happen again. So then I kind of went to Duck. I went to Cheryl. I was like, okay, I can't. This is not something you need some help with.
So you were coaching yourself
I was helping
on this. You didn't have anybody.
No,
okay.
Besides posing and stuff a little bit. I mean, I had help, but it wasn't like I didn't have a dietitian. It was like, don't eat bread. You know, like it was it was so basic at that point. Because remember, like now Instagram's just starting.
Yeah.
So this whole instant gratification of all these people on Instagram and fitness, like that wasn't a thing. You didn't have that. You didn't have that exposure with that.
Yeah.
So.
But it's still pretty ballsy, though. I mean, like, you're going to do it. You're going to teach yourself how to do it. And you're going to get on stage
in a manthan,
half naked and say, please judge me.
Yeah. It was awesome. I mean, I'm glad I did it. But I'm really happy I went back at it. Yeah. And next round, I think I lost I don't know. I gained a bunch of weight. I started doing things to prep again. And I think I came in I don't know, 50 pounds. I dropped 50 pounds for the next show. Wow. And I think I almost placed. I think I just placed.
Nice.
But world of difference.
Yeah.
So that's now when people at the gym were like, what are you doing? Because they'd see me, I'd come in tan, like they would see my face, like everything was really, and I'm running the gym, everyone's happy, because there was no real
yeah, but that's great though. That's marketing.
Yeah, everything is good. There's no issues, no Planet Fitness, none of that shenanigans.
Did you see the demographics start to change as a result of that? Like you were starting to get?
Okay. As that second show came around and people started talking, that is when things changed. So the next show came around and they made this new thing called Men's Physique. Once Men's Physique came up, that was it. Everything changed from that point. Then I had people that were just working at the gym saying, I want to do a show. Yeah. I want to do a show.
Well, it made it so more people could actually get into the competition.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was the start of me being a prep coach, starting, Team Sky Fitness and competing myself. So that was
I think I would say it's made an impact. I mean, it's one of the shames of COVID is that it kind of has killed the competition, at least around here. Like I see so much less of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But for a long time, I mean, and I think that's something that contribute to you, just that you brought that culture to the area.
And Ted and Nance, I want to give all the credit to Golds.
Well, yes,
they were competing.
But creating a team is different than giving people a place to work out and doing coaching, right? Like putting together the concept of you're going to have a competition team and we're going to work together and we're going to, as a group, have a goal that we're going to, something we can be proud of and have that support.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because I'm sure you from your first outing realized that if you don't have the support of people who are doing this and dieting, extreme dieting, the mental anguish, like all of it. If you don't have people that are supporting you, that's you're just never going to get there. And just the concept of having a team of people that you're going to compete with, that you're training with, and that are all kind of in the same place and experiencing the same things is just it's huge.
100%.
Yeah,
it really is. Because that last week, you feel like you're on your own and you don't have anyone that understands that. Because the average person, they don't understand it. No. Especially prep week or prep week, peak week, whatever the hell you call it.
Yeah, I never knew any of that until
it's brutal.
Started doing this and seeing people, knowing what actual carb depletion looks like. And
when you start water loading and water cutting, I mean, it's brutal psychologically. Yeah. And then, on top of the physical aspect, actually, let me go back to that physical, but psychologically, and then being told that you're not good enough. So body dysmorphia is such an interesting aspect of it. And then the lesson I learned being a coach was it was all my fault. I was
You
the one
didn't teach them the posing,
that
and you didn't tell
didn't
them
do
the
it right.
water.
So everyone blamed it, if they didn't place or they didn't do this, it was my fault. Oh, my coach. Well, my coach did this. So then that became a whole different aspect. Now, at that time, now the gym is really now it's like demographics are changing a little bit. We're becoming known as like just competing competition, but still, active people are doing it. And then we doubled down and CrossFit started opening up. Those gyms started opening up, and I was like, guys, okay, you want to leave, go do CrossFit. You'll be back in 2 months. I didn't really like nothing wrong with CrossFit. If you want to do it, amazing, but I just feel a little
There's
different.
functional training, and then
Exactly.
there's CrossFit in there.
So then we started getting into Tough Mudder. So then I had a Tough Mudder team that was doing all these adventure races. So now I'm like training for these things, doing these morning AM workouts with like 40, 50 people on the beach. We still had a pretty good staff at that point, but no one was at that level no one had motivation to wake up at 4 a.m, run. I just couldn't do that. So I was like, well, I have to do it. It has to be me. So I was doing that in the off season and competing in the on season, but then also being a coach. So I'm prepping myself
But you
while
also
dealing
made all
with these
this
people.
crazy equipment too that still hangs around this building.
Remember you laughed at
I-beams
my
and
welding?
kegs and yes.
So I had a company called Hudson Strength Equipment.
Another company that you welded equipment together. Okay.
So Hudson passed away.
Oh.
Yeah. So Hudson passed away.
Wait, so was this in New Jersey you had this business or since then? Oh, so you started this business and named it after him.
So Hudson Strength Equipment started from when the 8-section cable machine broke. Oh. So probably like a year into the gym. Yeah, about a year into the
That's
gym.
That's a nightmare. It's expensive.
And the well broke. So I called Duck. I'm like, hey. He's like, well, I don't. He's like, you're going to call a welder. I'm like, no. No, sir. I have a welding machine.
I operate.
So I learned how to weld. I started practicing on stuff, and I fixed all the gym. So then I started welding the gym equipment that was breaking because welds break. So when we started this other business, when we started doing this functional training outside, we had this beautiful backyard. I put up a basketball net, built a shed out there, had all this space that no one really ever parked in. So I got all these tires, sledgehammers, and then I started building, like Rogue Fitness, I think just opened up. And they had these sleds and these power sleds and all. And I'm like, this stuff is awesome. But it was so expensive.
I can build it.
Right. And it was so expensive. I'm like, why am I going to do this? I can build all this. I went to Olin Steel. I set up with those guys, great dudes. And I bought all this raw steel and I started designing my own functional training equipment, and I put plates on it, and I would do all these things.
People love that stuff. They're asking me for it all the time. I won't let them have it on the floor because I'm afraid of what they're going to do with it. But
and the fact that the welds still hold to this day shows that I'm a pretty good welder.
Yeah, still around.
So yeah, that business was in memory of Hudson.
Wow.
He passed away about 2 years into the gym. He passed away on his motorcycle.
Oh no.
Yeah. So back to that. So we had that running, competing. Obviously people were blaming me if they didn't win and all this other good stuff. So it was really intriguing. But you
said another team concept with the Tough Mudders, right? I mean, you're doing it with people, again, getting everybody together in the gym, which, awesome. There's not enough gyms do that, right? I mean, now you have it's what boutique fitness is all about. I mean, which didn't exist at the time, right? But I mean, here you were, harnessing that concept, even back in the day.
Gyms were doing it, but I think the big difference was I was the owner of the gym. I think that's really where it came down to.
But it wasn't. It also wasn't the sole focus, too. It was you were
right, but the dedication.
The
but it was such a different energy.
Oh yeah.
With me being there than like a train, because like I had Carolyn, like there were people that were doing that too, because I couldn't do all of it. But it was a different concept of me being there and doing it, because the energy that I brought, because I knew every second here represented the gym. Everything represented the gym. Every moment, every word, every employee, everything came back to the gym. Yeah. I am such a, this took me a long time, even to today, and I had to get over this, like my nose was so brown because that's how I felt, like, I had to kiss everyone's ass. And that's terrible. Like, that's a terrible way to run a business. Yeah. It's taken me many, many years to finally just say, no, like, you're wrong. I'm not doing this.
Right.
And but that it was intriguing on that aspect.
But I mean, I think the point that you're getting at is that you were an owner operator, not an absentee owner ever.
Exactly.
I mean, even though you're doing 15 other businesses at the same time, you were still, on site, actually doing the work. And I mean, it matters. I mean, it's something that I've experienced a little bit here, just because I also have, other jobs that I do, being similar to yourself. And in recent months have decided that this really needs to be my primary focus. I mean, it's why we're doing this. It's, I've kind of just just double down again into the gym with everything that we have going on here, and just realizing exactly what you're saying is that if I'm not doing it and my vision isn't in every day, it loses something, right? Because, I mean, you can have the vision and say to everybody that works here, go do this. But it's not their vision. They're not taking ownership of it. If you're lucky, they are part of the team and really want to, see it succeed. But it's still not their vision. If the person who has the vision is not intimately involved in it in the day-to-day, it shows. And it's why there's now a difference in what we have going on here, because I'm back in it, every day. And it's a huge difference. So, I mean, and so you being there, I think it had to have been what drove it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, you're
and
right.
too many gyms, that have all of them that go for sale, and, franchises, it's absentee owner, and it's
People thinking they could just make money and walk away. That's not how it works.
Well, it's also you lose. It's the corporate gym thing too. You use the feeling of the people in the gym caring about your success and your journey and what you're doing, and it's what motivates you to come back. If there's no one here looking forward to seeing you, it's not going to get you here. I mean, it's why you got how many Planet Fitnesses now?
That's true.
And, they do it at a low cost because it's a volume game, but knowing that they're not offering any of those things that motivate people to get here, and they make it so cheap that it doesn't matter. Right. They'd rather you don't show up, right?
Of course, yeah. Literally how they're built,
I mean, that is the model. Whereas, what we try to do, and again, it comes from what you originally built, is we care whether or not you show up, and we care about your fitness journey, whatever that may be, whatever you're getting out of it, and that you are being successful in gaining what you want to get out of coming to the gym.
So
looking forward to seeing everybody every day, and them looking forward to showing up and seeing you is
watching the kids grow up, watching everybody change. Well, the best part is like watching or hearing someone set a goal, and then they hit it, they make it. We're saying, I lost this, I did this, I accomplished that, I couldn't do a pull-up.
Well,
now
that's
I can
what's
do
great
a
about
pull-up.
watching people compete, because so many of them start from, I've never done this before, and then you see them get on the stage, and then you see them get the bug, and,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Life-changing. Yeah.
So, that was the chapter, the journey of being a prep coach. Which obviously that continued up to the point where you bought the gym.
And after.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess in between that time, I was a teacher. I think it slowed down. Yeah, I think at that point, that's when my focus was really gym, because there were just so many gym activities that I didn't really have
so
time.
much to do.
Right, so much to do. But I did decide, I got an offer from the community college, Georgetown. What is it?
Georgetown.
Yeah. They offered me a teaching position for their PT class. Well, they were teaching they started a new class, PT, physical something. And
let's get this guy. He's on the news.
Yeah, they
every
asked
Friday.
me if I wanted to teach the class, and I was like, oh, absolutely. I want to be a college professor. So I went out, and I didn't really know what professors wear. So I was kind of envisioning like the not James Bond, more of the Indiana Jones look. Yeah, very browns and a satchel. I didn't have a hat.
The important
though.
thing was the satchel. I'm sure.
The satchel. Yeah, it was a suede
You are
brown
that
leather,
guy.
which I still have it. Yep. I filled it with shenanigans, some paper, a book.
Not the book for the class.
No. Well, I did. The first day I did have the book for the class. So I accepted this position. I walked in and I did zero preparation for this. I didn't write a syllabus. I didn't really know the course structure. And there were probably, I think there were like, 25 people, 30 people,
That's a
40
lot.
in the class. Yeah, something like that. And it was a huge mix of ages. So it wasn't just like college kids. Most of
It's
them were,
community
but there
college,
were some old,
so
right.
yeah, it could be anybody.
And I'll never forget, I walked in, introduced myself, and I said, okay, this book you guys are looking at is a complete waste of time. And I threw it. Well, that's right. And I also got in trouble for cursing a lot. I did curse a lot.
Oh, they didn't like
I thought that
too?
was the cool professor thing. Apparently not.
So you're trying to be the hip
much.
dude, threw the book away.
Totally.
We're gonna do, Jack
So,
Black School of Rock approach.
Long story short, they politely asked me never, ever, ever to teach another class ever again. But there were two parts to that class. The first part was the practical. Well, not the practical, sorry, like the written and all like the book stuff. And then
Stuff
the
you
next
didn't do.
part, and the next part was the actual in the gym, the communication, the physical aspect and all that. They loved that. I did a really, really good job of the actual how to do it in the real world application to these tests. How do you communicate? How do you talk? Body language, psychology, all wonderful. Loved that. Everyone aced that.
Did any of your students end up getting certified?
Yes. Yeah,
Nice.
quite a few. And actually, one of them worked for me
Oh,
for a
wow.
while. Yeah. But the written part, you do need a book, apparently, because the test is the test, and you can't fake that. So a lot of kids failed, and they were really pissed. But great experience. From that did come an interesting piece, though, for public speaking. Okay. So I was asked then at that point, because now I'm like really doing some TV stuff. Fox is kind of bringing me on because I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it on the radio and stuff because Mad Max would always call me in. And I did I got asked to be a speaker at Myrtle Beach International Airport for all the employees who do health and wellness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Health and wellness and lifestyle, healthy lifestyle. So I did that a couple times and I would talk to everyone and I would prepare. Never had any game plan. Never had a speech. Like it was so, I think back to like, what was wrong with me? If I would have prepared and done like really nice slides, I could have done so good with this. Like it could have been
minimal effort.
I had such great opportunities that I just pissed away because there's just too much.
Yeah.
But great experience. But one thing that did lead from that was a television show. So I got a phone call from a production company in New York City saying, "Hey, we saw you on the internet." Or I honestly don't know how the hell they saw me, but I think it was the internet.
Your weird YouTube videos.
Weird
you're
YouTube
doing
videos, and they're like, "We're starting a new TV show. It's on CNBC." They just started filming Shark Tank. And like, this is the show that's going to be up against Shark Tank. And I'm like, and I remember at this point, I didn't know what Shark Tank was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, cool. So it was called Crowd Rules.
TV, let me do it. I could do that.
So production company, we did a bunch of stuff. We got accepted. They flew down. They filmed in the gym for a couple weeks. So we did our episode.
That's cool.
And then we flew to New York. We actually filmed in the meatpacking district where they do all the Food Network shows.
It was like a competition? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. So it was just like Shark Tank, except the crowd voted on the people that should got the investment.
Oh, okay.
Instead of where the judges, but we still had judges. It was a weird dynamic to this.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Was it just you?
What do you mean?
Like that
No. In our season was the other company was Dirty Girl Disposals. It was like ironically enough, it was a disposal company, kind of like Helping Hands.
Oh,
but it was female owned, and another one was. I have no idea. I don't remember what the other one was.
But was it in terms of representing Sky? Was it just you?
No. There was another person next to me, but that
she who shall not.
Yeah,
be
shall
named.
not be named.
Yes,
Blacked out of everything.
Okay. You had help.
Yeah. So we, that was a fun experience. TV show did not last, as we all know.
Shocking. Yeah.
Shark Tank
Yeah.
kind of took the W on that one.
Away.
Yeah, they took the W on that one great experience. Did another pilot like 4 months later for another show.
Oh, wow.
They filmed again. That pilot never even got launched, but
Yeah.
it's cool. So that was kind of like the taste of that. Well, that was, I would say, that was the top.
That was the pinnacle.
That was the pinnacle. So we were there. Gym was great. Everything was good. Competition's good. Everything is like, just like, man, wow, this is awesome. And then came the downfall. So started getting rumors of a Planet Fitness coming to Myrtle Beach. And I was like, no way, no way, no way. So I called all the gym owners. I'm like, we all had a meeting and we're like, hey, would you guys hear about this?
Yeah.
Because we were all like,
what is this?
yeah, like everybody in the group that was there at that point, we were all cool. Like everybody talked, Ted and Nancy. We
which
were
is
all
great.
Yeah, we were all cool. Except Mike from Fitness Edge. So everyone's like, no way. I talked to Doc and Cheryl. They're like, no way. And then it kept coming. They're like, no, I think they're going to open. And then all of a sudden, my buddy that was in real estate, he's like, hey, they just did a showing at the old Barnes and Nobles. And I'm like, no, that building, it's too far away. That's not going to be a thing. Total denial. Then came the day they signed the lease. And then like instantly, it was total takeover of Myrtle Beach. Every billboard, every location, every marketing spot, every mailbox, every mailer, flyer, Planet Fitness. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, shit.
And then, and to me, I didn't really care about the name Planet Fitness. It was what their one thing.
Yeah.
It was, well, no, it was just $10.
That's the thing. It's their thing.
That was it. And I'm like,
they're going to undercut everybody.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So instantly, everyone's like, hey, because everyone was the same price. Everyone in the gym industry, in our space, was all, give or take, we'd run specials, right? Like a couple bucks. And everyone's like, why aren't you $10? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean, why am I at $10?
Why am I not $10?
I can't be $10. What are you talking about?
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where it started. Then pre-sale started. So then like that 1,200 went to, 1,000. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, we're Sky Fitness. Everyone, everyone's good. No one's going to leave. Hey, well, I'm really sorry. Like, I just can't cut $39.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Really? Are you serious? And then, because I knew these people. Like, people didn't want to call me to, people did not want to look at me and cancel their membership.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't just the gym. It was,
Yeah, I mean, you're taking it personally at that point. Yeah.
And then it was like, well, can you do the $10? I'm like, no, I can't. Like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go bankrupt instantly. Like, I can't do that. So, 800 went to 700, 600. So at that point, financially, everything was good. We were still like covered. I had a good cash. Everything was fine. But I knew I had to do something.
You got to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I could not stay. Right. I had to adapt. And I came up with two solutions. One was open another location. North Myrtle, essentially replicate. I could have got the equipment, had another Sky. And then option B was the building next to ours, which is an identical mirror image of 5,000 square feet, was available.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. Everyone kept talking about tanning and classes and all these things. And I'm like, because I didn't have any of that. I'm like, okay, well, if I have a tanning salon and then I can have classes and I can convert the space and I drew it out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, that could work. That could bring people in. My overhead is going to double anyhow, regardless if I have another space somewhere else. It doesn't really matter, but really focus in on the income.
Not realizing the endeavor that you're contemplating here. Yeah.
So obviously, as you know, I went with option B, which was go next door. So got that lease, set that all up, and then went down a really dark, deep rabbit hole of what is tanning.
Yeah.
And that business sucks.
Yeah. I also am not a fan.
Yeah. Because you have to be a master electrician, which I am not.
Yeah.
But I couldn't afford to have a technician come in all the time. So I was very fortunate that I knew my electrician. So I essentially put all the wiring in with him.
Okay.
I just
That's
watched
crazy.
him like
You're
a
talking
hawk.
about now I got to do three-phase electric.
Right. So I learned about three-phase,
insane.
buck boosters, transformers, fuses. So I was at least got a crash course in setting and wiring and diagrams.
crazy
And
electric,
so I was like, okay, I got this. No problem. I know each machine. I know what current it takes. I get all this. So that was helpful.
Yeah, but people
Got
don't
that set
realize.
up.
I mean, a tanning bed costs the same as a car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were 30, 40 grand each.
Yeah,
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Very expensive. And the operational costs, every time you
Maintaining
turn them
them.
on, the buck booster, the pole,
Bulbs and
there's so much. And then the bulbs.
breakers.
And then the
yeah.
insurance.
And the
Cancer
and
insurance.
DHEC.
Yeah,
And
DHEC, yeah.
it's an entirely different demographic.
It is.
Than
It's
what,
so gross. I had the grossest things happen.
oh, yeah.
So
I will say that
gross.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
peed in a garbage can.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
women would leave their underwear. They go, "Hi, lift something." Like, I don't want your dirty underwear on the tanning bed. Like, what is wrong with you? This is disgusting. I'm mortified by this place.
Yeah.
But
and
I had to
tanning
put a
people
smile.
are obsessed with tanning.
Obsessed.
too.
And then if a bed broke or a bulb went
Yeah.
out, all hell would break loose.
Yeah, I mean, people get mad when
Yeah.
when a machine breaks, but if a tanning,
tanning
bed
bed breaks?
they,
Oh, man,
I mean,
it
talk
was-
about
it was
riot.
wild.
Yeah.
So with that building, I knew the main thing would be tanning and then classes. So the way I laid it out was there were 3 classrooms. There was a athletics room, a hardwood floor with all mirrors, and then a spin room. So I was like, okay, I looked at this from I needed every square inch to produce some sort of revenue. Like I had to make sure everything was. And then I still had some space left over. So I was like, okay, what else can I do that wouldn't be completely reliant on me? What can I sublease out? So I had an opportunity with a hair salon. So I built that out. And then an opportunity with another area for like a juice bar. So I had 2 incomes coming in that were kind of supplementing the rent. It was pretty close. So that was very helpful. But now I had another challenge of not only figuring out the tanning salon aspect, but also getting these classrooms filled. So then I had to get spin bikes, instructors.
Which you've never done.
But from all that, also amplified the posing and the prep stuff. Because now I had a dedicated pose room. So now every Wednesday night, oh my God, I forgot about this. We had posing class, posing clinics. So now people were coming all over. So now I'm back into like trying to pay for this by being a prep coach again. So now I'm really charging people. Like now I'm like, okay, I've done this for many years.
I'm now an expert.
We have a lot of people. Well, I mean,
but I mean, really,
yeah. I mean,
you're
I was
the
bringing
one
home a
that's
lot of
doing
trophies. There was a lot. Like we were really doing what we said we were. I mean, we were bringing home hardware every single show. So people were like, okay, he's a coach. Like, and I was charging for it. And then I learned about tanning and all this other stuff. So we started doing all that. But mind you, wasn't that good because Planet Fitness was still there digging away at that.
Still wasn't enough,
So as I'm losing members consistently and gaining some back because of this, if you build it, they will come shenanigans. It wasn't really there. It was a little bit.
Do you think it would have been better if you did the classes but outsourced the tanning? Like got
sure.
a tanning salon to rent
100%.
space? Okay, yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever actually thought about that. The fact that you just said that.
I mean, you had the friends that were doing
I know.
tanning.
The fact that you just said the fact that you just said that to me.
I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, because not running it would definitely be the better option.
Yeah, why did that never come up?
I don't know.
I'm actually really taken back by that right now. That had to come up. That had to come up at some point.
I mean, then you would have really
there had to be a
but not
reason.
the headache of it, right?
There had to be a reason for that. But what the hell possibly could be the reason I wouldn't have done that?
Because you said I can do it. You were all in.
Maybe. Wow. Yeah, that would have solved a lot of problems if I would have just subleased out the tanning salon to and I'm sure I could have gotten that done.
Oh,
that would have been super easy.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Anyhow. So Planet Fitness, blah blah blah. They were coming full steam ahead, and then the next real big disaster in my life happened. I was married at that time. I was only married for a very short period of time. It was less than a year, but together with that same person the whole time. And me being like a dumbass, I decided to just during this process, I decided to just I wanted nothing to do with this. So I just did a non-contest divorce, just completely just walked away from everything except I want my gym.
Okay.
Like, I want my gym.
Okay.
That's it. You can have everything. And there was rental properties, there was a house, there's a lot of things. So I completely had to start over financially, but while still having this gym. and still pretending like everything was good and dandy.
Planet Fitness is chipping away at. Yeah.
Right. So I ended up living inside the tanning salon for 6 months.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, that was interesting to wake up,
I
put
bet.
everything away, hide everything in the back, which, you know, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, shit happens.
Yeah. So work through that. As Planet Fitness is still chopping away. I managed to get through that little phase, but realizing that, you know, we were losing more than we were gaining. And this can only continue for so long.
Yeah.
So now I think we're in probably, you know, September. What year did you buy it?
2015.
2015. On 2015, because, right, we closed.
December. Yeah.
Right. But
End of December.
But it was 2014, the process.
No, it was the end of 2015.
Right, 2016. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. So, okay, because these are important. There's some things I don't think I've ever told you. So, yeah, this is interesting. Okay, so call that probably September of 2015.
Okay.
You know, that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, nothing's getting better.
Yeah.
Like I see what's
gotta
happening.
do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably that summer, before that, randomly I got a phone call because we were getting, you get all these stupid phone calls from telemarketers and all this shit. And so I was like, hey, I'm a better business broker. I do business broker. I'm like, well, what's that? And they kind of filled me in. He goes, hey, you know, we essentially list your business for sale. We put it on the market, see if anybody hits and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. Sure, whatever. I'm like, what do you need from me? He's like, nothing really. Just, you know, fill some paperwork out and fill it out. I was like, okay, fine. So September comes around. You
also had another Planet Fitness that you were continuing to do, not one, but two at this point.
Yeah, so
in
at this
time.
point now there's 2 It was Conway, I think, right? Or
Oh,
Merle's
well, maybe
Inlet.
3 because I'm counting
No, there was
one
only
in
2.
Merle's Inlet.
No, Merle's Inlet. It was, Conway wasn't open yet. So Merle's Inlet. So we're just getting like hammered.
Yeah.
Tanning salon now is just like, you know, kind of did its thing. It's over it, you know.
Also not one that consistently makes money.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Cyclical.
So that was very seasonal based. And then competition was just destroying. So I'm getting hit from every end.
Yeah.
And I always went to work trying to hide my problems behind what I thought was a mask that I wore every day. But the more I wore this mask and the worse it was getting, this mask was becoming very translucent. You know, people were seeing right through my bullshit.
Yeah.
Because now
because you're not the happy guy anymore.
Right. I'm not happy, and I'm at a stress level that it's such an intense level of stress because it's not just like a business. It's also this image I created in this community. I'm like, what am I going to do? Dig a hole and hide? Like, I couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
Everywhere
I remember
went,
meeting you
dinners,
and seeing the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah, it was the most surreal, intense feeling of my life. So September comes, October rolls around. I'm like, okay, this didn't get better. I mean, now October comes in. October, November, December. Yeah. And I miss my first rent payment. So I'm like, uh-oh. Like, okay, this isn't good. Yeah. What do I do? So then I call my banker. I had really good relationships. I was honest. I called my bank at the time was Anderson Brothers, great small bank, awesome. I was like, hey man, here's the situation. And he goes, okay, don't worry about it. Let's defer all your payments. I'll put everything on the back end. I'll give you till the end of the year.
That's good. Okay.
So really good relationship. So I was able to, because I consolidated. So what I did do, thankfully, earlier that year, I took all my credit card debt, I took all of my loans, and I consolidated. Anderson, they were really willing to just give me one loan if I paid everything, which was, thank God.
Yeah.
So I had just one payment,
you
know, with the mortgage or the rent and everything else. But I missed the rent. Called Lee Guy. I'm like, hey, here's the situation. Here's my game plan to get out of this, which I didn't have one. Yeah. Like I was just, you know, I didn't have a game plan.
Something.
Yeah. And he goes, okay, you know, I've never been late in forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, you've been open for years
and
at this point.
And it was never an issue. He's like, no problem. He's like, you're good. I'm like, all right. So that, you know, caught me up a little bit, but I knew there was no change in this.
Yeah.
So then, you know, like the end of October comes around and now I'm like, okay, there's really no money in the bank. Don't know how I'm going to deal the next month. So I'm like, okay, let's weigh out all my situations. What am I going to do? New Year comes around, they're going to shut down, they're going to lock up, they're going to take assets. going to destroy, I'm pretty much screwed. So I was like, okay, well, I'll get a semi-truck. I'll lock the doors. I'll pull all the equipment out. Like I'm thinking about how I'm going to personally liquidate
what am I
before
gonna do?
I knew I'd be better off if I liquidate it versus them liquidating from debt collectors. So like these are like, I'm doing this, all this stuff out in my head as I'm waking up in the morning to go to work to train people.
Yeah, every day.
Trying to compose myself, deal with everyone, pretending because I could never let anyone know.
Right.
Like that would be so devastating. So no one knew. No one knew. So I guess it was October. At that point, it was just Taylor, a couple people, some trainers. Steve was cleaning, some people, and I was by myself in the gym. There was a couple people in the gym. And the phone rang, and it was like, "Hey, this is." I've always remembered his name to this day. Now I can't remember who is the business broker that who did the transaction.
I want to say his name was Rich, but I don't.
Rich.
Okay.
It was Rich. Yeah, it was Rich. Yeah, Rich. Hey, this is Rich from business. No, it wasn't Rich. No, it wasn't Rich. Anyhow, whoever it was, I picked up the phone.
Something to that effect. Rick, maybe.
Rick. Maybe it was Rick. Rick.
Yeah.
Rick. It was Rick. And I never picked up the phone because I was just, whatever at that point. And I picked up and I was like, hey. He's like, hey, I'm not supposed to tell you this. He's like, but. Well, first I was like, who is this? And he goes, this is Rick with Better Business Bureau. I'm like, what? I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, I'm the guy that you listed your business with. I'm like,
I
what?
talked to you?
What did I list? And he goes, the gym. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And he goes, yeah, well, I have people that are interested in buying the gym.
Nice.
And I went, what? So what are you talking about?
How?
He's like, well, listen, they're coming now. I'm like, coming where? I was so like just over it. And he's like, they're coming to look at the gym tonight. And I was like, okay. So at that point, I was like, because I'm like, at any twinkle of hope in the world, I was like, all right, whatever. This is what it is. So I just took it. I believed him.
Okay.
So I had Taylor. I was like, everybody clean the gym. Everybody clean. And just sitting there. I'll never forget sitting in my office just going, I'm such an idiot. I'm going to lose everything. And I'm sitting here thinking about a phone call. This guy, just random dude said, and all of a sudden you walked up to the door. And I was like, yep, this is her. Because you were Dale. And you and Dale walked in. I'm like, this is them. I knew it was you when you walked in.
You knew it was me, even though I said I wanted a membership.
Yeah, I knew exactly who you were. I knew instantly.
Must have been that dead.
Yeah. No, there were still people there. But I just knew the timing. A lot of
new people.
Yeah, the timing in New York. I knew you were from New York. Well, he said New York, so I mean that helped too.
Okay.
But I just knew. So yeah, because that was October, right?
It was probably like November time frame.
Yeah, maybe the
because
first
we
November. It was
pushed
really
it through
close.
pretty quickly.
It wasn't Halloween, so it had to be November. Yeah, so figure November. I did the whole spiel. Welcome to Sky Fitness. And we give you a little tour, and then you sat in the recumbent bike. Dale you guys sat in the right hand corner because I was watching you in the office.
And we worked out. Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, you guys worked out. You did your thing, and then you.
But I'm sure you saw me eyeballing. Literally everything.
I was staring at you like a hawk.
That's creepy.
And I was just sitting there, and
in your creeper office that you had.
You got my creeper office. No. That was a creeper closet upstairs. That was at 707.
Several.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was one up there too. I forgot. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Right. So yeah, you guys left, and then I guess, man, I don't think it was more than a couple days.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, because. I'm like you. Like by the time I came and had that meeting, I knew, I had sold my software company in New York, and I had already said this is what I want to do. Like Dale and I had conversations about some stuff, and I knew I wanted to buy business because I had the same, like I said, I want to do something in the community that kind of grounds me to the community. And I was working out of town at the time, and which is another reason why I wanted something that was going to bring me to be more part of Myrtle Beach, as opposed to I'm working in Virginia and this is just where my house is, and I kind of spend time, my personal time, but it's not where my life is, right? So I wanted something that was going to make Myrtle Beach my life, and so by the time I came to actually meet you and look at the place, same thing. I had probably told Dale that this is what we were doing the day before. But in my mind, already knew, had it all worked out, scoped out the business online, talked to the business broker, and then, said, "Hey, Dale, I think I want to buy a gym." Actually, I remember it. I made him go for a walk with me, and was walking, and I said to him, "I think I want to buy a gym," and he's like, "What? Why?"
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I said, "Well, I've always, honestly, if I hadn't grown up in New York and been that person that, overly ambitious New Yorker that always said, I'm going to go work in the city, and I'm going to make all kinds of money when I grow up. When I was in college, I worked at a Gold's Gym and I loved it. Absolutely
I didn't know that.
loved it. Ran the front desk, basically ran the joint at the time.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah. That's kind of the basis of where the whole thing came from, is that I worked there through college and loved it, thought about getting my personal training certification then, and just really got immersed in it, but knew that you can't make money at it. Right? Like, it was just, there's no money in managing a gym. There's, you kind of always have to have a day job and be a trainer or an instructor on the side. It's kind of what I knew, and I was never going to make the New York money that I dreamed of, owning a gym or running a gym. So put it to the side. So, and that's what I said to him. I said, now that I've kind of done that and I have this money, I think I'd like to actually do that. And that's what kind of, brought me to that. And it was probably, like I said, only a couple of days later that we actually came to look at it.
It had to be, because I remember exactly where I was. I remember that the moment in time, I was in my truck in between, now the new Starbucks. Well, I'm pointing in a different area. When they built where that new Starbucks is and where McDonald's is, where like the Irish bar is. I was driving right there, heading towards whatever, Sockesty. The phone rang and it was, "Hey, Rick again." He's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know they're putting an all cash offer or something, whatever you did." I can't remember. Close, end of the year. And I'm like, what? What?
So that really was serendipity for you, because you really,
it was a month.
It was
Nicole,
it. That was it.
Nicole, you never knew this. I was a month out from.
Well, of course you didn't tell me that at the time.
Of course not. Who the hell would ever do that? Well, and it wasn't and that's the thing
why I never. You're also not going to tell me that the business is not doing great.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But see, that's the thing, right? Like, the business itself, it was just me. I didn't have cash flow. It wasn't the structure of the business. It's not like I was selling a hidden shit hole. It was. I just didn't have cash.
It was an existing business with a great location. It had clientele. It had everything in place. It was turnkey.
Yeah, I just didn't have the money.
But also you were beaten down at that point.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty.
I was so worn out at that point.
Yeah,
I sold it because I ran out of money. Yeah, it wasn't a bad. It just needed someone. Yeah. That had money.
I'm not going to lie. I came in and was like, wow, this is a garage gym that smells like a foot, but that's low-hanging fruit. Easy to fit.
No. There was a lot of good opportunity, which clearly there is. So,
proven to be the case.
I got that phone call and I stopped. I parked. I just parked my car and I called my dad. Because, my parents knew. My dad knew. That was pretty much it. My family knew. They were like, fuck. This kid he's losing his shit. I was really losing. I was really losing it. Sure. It was bad.
Yeah.
I was having medical issues. It was bad.
Yeah.
And I called him. I just broke down. I'm like, "Dad, you'll never guess what happened." And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "No." He's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah." This was a month. It was literally a month. I couldn't have made it another. There was no other month coming.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that was it. And then, we did everything. And here you are. It was crazy.
But it's not just that.
No, not at all. But
you were a great help to me because I'm doing something that I've never done before. I don't know.
And it was tough in the beginning because
I don't know about door systems. I don't know about any of these.
Yeah.
Yes, but you were willing to help.
I was in my mask way. Yeah. Because it was tough. Because I remember saying some things to you
you were very upset when I tore down the office.
Yeah, I was upset about a lot of things. Then I had to
helped me do construction, but some of it was rough.
That was a lot because it was like letting a piece of me go.
Yeah.
It was a piece of me. When I was like, you're not buying a gym, you're buying me. I remember saying certain things that, that was like, this is what it is. But It is. It worked out great. I remember part of the deal, obviously I had to stay, for 6 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, it's like a month. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you stayed longer than that. And then, I mean, I think you were only gone for 2-3 months before I called you up and said, hey.
Yeah, because my other business didn't work out well.
Yeah, but like I also called you up like, hey, being the crazy that I am, which is the same brand of crazy that you are, I think I immediately should open a second location.
Yep.
What do you think?
I was like, absolutely, great idea.
Immediately like, yes, that's a great idea. Where do you think? But it was the same thing. I'm driving up and down 707 every day.
Oh, yeah, because you lived there.
Yeah, I live up to Bay Road, and I'm driving up and down 707. They're doing all kinds of constructions when they're widening the road, and I was like, this section of town doesn't have a gym. It needs one. Like, there's houses galore here. Like, this is a spot. The spot that I have is great, but it's a certain size. You can't expand it. You can't get any bigger. You and I had already had those conversations. You're not making it bigger. There's only so much that you can kind of do to that location, as good as it was, and really wanted something that was larger, something that could be, classes and everything in one space. And every building I drove past on 707 was a target. Like, what do you think about that? What do I think about this? What do I think? And that's how it happens, as you know.
Yeah.
And moving on into the future, I mean, there's so much more. I mean, that you and I can get into. I mean, just how, because after that is when you and I really started to work together and actually kind of formulate that relationship. So I think, we're a good ways in now, but have so much more to talk about, because I really want to get into the work that we did there, but also like how that's kind of morphed into what you do now, right? Because there's experiences that you and I had together that then, you kind of then took into what you do now that kind of brings us almost full circle to where we sit today, and it being me calling you to be involved in Flex and Reflect. So I think, we can actually dedicate another episode to kind of finishing the conversation.
Okay.
Great.
Let's do it.